Hello again, everybody. This is Dave from Xclusive Collectibles, back for their box break. We got most of a box of 1990 Fleer football. We've got these. We're going to open this up. These were mass produced, so you can get these for a song, but there's a couple great players in here. We're going to open these up, see what we get, see what players are in here, and hope you enjoy. All right. Alright, here we go with the first pack. Nice, easy opening packs. Oh, of course I say that. Turns out to be a little more difficult. Nice old plastic. Pulls apart. Richard Dent right on top. The Bears. Eric Martin. Ron Heller. Wade Wilson. It's cool looking Bo Jackson in here somewhere. Steve Smith. Dave Maggette. Thomas Everett. Buford McGee. Larry Kinnebrew, Bernie Kosar, Blast from the Past, Chris Martin, Tom Rathman, Gary Clark, Roddy Holman, and Ken Lanier. All right. Andre Reed, Eric Metcalf. Very simple design, not the best Fleer has to offer. Leonard Griffin, Joe Montana, good card. Charles Mann, centering on these is pretty darn good too. Louis Billups, Orson Mobley, Arthur Cox, Harvey Armstrong, Blair Thomas, NFL draft choice, John Stevens, Super Bowl MVPs, Jerry Rice of Montana. That's a cool looking insert. Ray Horton, Tim Harris, and the ubiquitous checklist card. All right. Yeah, you can get these for probably about $10 a box. Pete Metzlars, Frank Minifield, Bill Moss, Ronnie Lott, another good card. Mark Rippon, Ricky Dixon, Simon Fletcher, Anthony Miller, Ron Stark, NFL draft choice, Percy Snow, Danny Vila, Richard Johnson, Michael Irvin, Ed West, and checklist card. All right. Tim Crumpry, Anthony Bell, Randy Grimes, Kelly Stufer. There's one of the inserts. Jim Covert, All-Pro 1990. It's a good card. Sharp corners. Jim Arnold, Vesty Jackson, Robert Massey, Chris Miller, Joy Browner, Eddie Anderson, Leonard Marshall, Rod Woodson, Henry Ellard, and Scott Norwood. All right, let's keep this party going. Looks like another All-Pro on the bottom. Steve Walsh, Sam Mills, Ed Reynolds, Randall Cunningham, good card. Mark Clayton, Howie Long, Hall of Famer. Eugene Lockhart, Bruce Smith, good cards out of this one. Bubba Paris, Lorenzo White, Dennis Smith, Robert Awalt, Mark Robinson, Grant Fiesel, Christian Okoye, rest in peace. That's a good card right there. All right. Bunch of these packs. They don't make 36-pack boxes that much anymore, especially for football and basketball. Ryan Wagner, John Alt, Joe Jacoby, Johnny Rembert, Jeff Criswell, Earl Farrell, Winston Moss, Jeff Bryant, All-Pro, Chris Dolman, Rodney Peete, Jay Hildenberg, Stan Brock, Keith Woodside, Bill Fralick, and John Telchik. Check out the next one. Tim McGee, Cedric Mack, Chris Moore, John Williams, There's Barry Sanders. Little off center, but sharp corners. Brad Muster, Jim Dabrowski, Mike Klenn, Chris Dolman, Bob Golick, Eric Howard, Bubby Brister, Pete Holohan, Mark Kelso, and Tim Manoa. Checking out the next one. David Treadwell, Gil Bird, Clarence Vernon, Broderick Thomas, Cedric Jones, James Thornton, Sam Mills, Ed Reynolds, Randall Cunningham once again, Mark Clayton, starting to see more of the same ones, Howie Long, Eugene Lockhart, Bruce Smith, Bubba Paris, and again Lorenzo White. Steve Folsom, Vance Johnson, Rich Camarillo, Ron Hall, James Jefferson, Stephen Atwater, All-Pro insert, Lamas Brown, Kevin Butler, Jim Wilkes, Neon Deion Sanders, always a fan favorite, Kirk Laudermick. There's Bo. Bo knows football. Centering's pretty damn good on that one, so are the corners. Lionel Manuel, Louis Lips, and Jim Everett out of this one. Almost about a third of the way through a lot of these packs. Lamas Brown, Kevin Butler, Jim Wilkes, Chris Jack, another Dion, Clyde Simmons, Kurt Loudermilk, another Bo. Centering's a little worse on this one. Sharp corners, though. Louis Lips, Jim Everett, Andre Reed, Eric Metcalf, Leonard Griffin, Joe Montana. Centering's a little off on that one. And Charles Mann. Kirk Laudermilk. Another Bo. Getting a lot of bows out of this one. A little off center. That's 3 bows, I believe. Louis Lips, Jim Everett, Andre Reed, Eric Metcalf, Leonard Griffin, another Joe, Charles Mann, Louis Billups, Orson Mobley, Arthur Cox, Harvey Armstrong, Blair Thomas, draft choice, John Stevens, Cedric James, James Thornton, Sam Mills, Ed Reynolds, another Randall Cunningham, Mark Clayton, Howie Long, Eugene Lockhart, Bruce Smith, Bubba Paris, Lorenzo White, seen a lot of him, Dennis Smith, Robert Awalt, Mark Robinson, and Grant Fiesel. Hassan Jones, Mervin Fernandez, John Reenstra, Leroy Irvin, Jim Kelly, Webster Slaughter, Albert Lewis, Roger Craig, another good card, Ricky Sanders, James Brooks, Steve Sewell, Tim Spencer, Chip Banks, William Howard, and Bob Perryman. At least these ones aren't sticking together like some of the stadium clubs. Icky Woods, John Elway, there we go. Centering's a little off. Leslie O'Neal, Dwayne Bickett, Ricky Reynolds, Steve Grogan, Neil Anderson, the Bears, Morton Anderson, great kicker, Otis Anderson, Jerome Brown, Bill Brooks, Mike Harden, Vince Newsom, Scott Radisick, and Charles Haley out of this one. Jim Wilkes, Chris Jackie, Neon Dion. Once again, centering's great on this one. Clyde Simmons, Kirk Loudermilk, another Bo. That makes 4. Centering's great on that one too. Lewis Lips, Jim Everett, Andre Reed, Eric Metcalf, Leonard Griffin, another Joe. A lot of great players out of this box. Charles Mann, Lewis Billups, and Orson Mobley. Carl Meckenberg, Gil Bird, Clarence Vernon, Broderick Thomas, Cedric Jones, James Thornton, Sam Mills, Ed Reynolds, Randall Cunningham, Mark Clayton, another Howie Long, Eugene Lockhart, Bruce Smith, Bubba Paris, and yet again another Lorenzo White. Harris Barton, Steve Folsom, Vance Johnson, Rich Camarillo, Ron Hall, James Jefferson, Lamas Brown, another Kevin Butler, Jim Wilkes, Chris Jack, Deion Sanders, a lot of these, Clyde Simmons, Kirk Loudermilk, another Bo, look at that, Lewis Lips, Jim Everett, and Andre Reed. Ron Morris, Leon White, John Forcade. First one we've seen of him. Perry Kemp, Keith Jones, Eric Allen, Herschel Walker. First we've seen of him too. Don Mosbar, Mike Mularkey, Greg Bell, Cornelius Bennett, Mike Johnson, Kevin Porter, another Jerry Rice, and Ralph Mozizenko. All right, we're about a little more than halfway through. Eric Allen, another Herschel Walker, Don Mosbar, Mike Mularkey, Greg Bell, Cornelius Bennett, Mike Johnson, Kevin Porter, Jerry Rice, Ralph Mozizenko, Leon White, Michael Brooks, Marion Butts, first one we've seen of him. That's a great card right there. Michael Ball, Ron Stallworth, John Settle, Rich Carlis, starting seeing more that we haven't seen yet. Bart Oates, Greg Lloyd, Matt Barr, Michael Carter, Jim Lackey, Tim Crumry, Anthony Bell, Randy Grimes, Kevin Stouffer, Jim Arnold, Vesty Jackson, Robert Massey, and Brent Fullwood. All right, out of this one, we've got Norm Johnson. Another All-Pro, Jim Covert. Real nice guy. Met him at football camp. Chris Spielman. Richard Dent. Eric Martin. Mark Murphy. Ron Heller. Another Ron Heller. Wade Wilson. Steve Smith. Thomas Everett. Buford McGee. Larry Kennebrew. Bernie Kosar and Chris Martin out of this one. Got about 8 left out of this. John Forcade, Perry Kemp, Keith Jones, Eric Allen, Herschel Walker, Don Mosbar, Mike Malarkey, Greg Bell, Cornelius Bennett, Mike Johnson, Kevin Porter, Jerry Rice, Ralph Mojizenko, Leon White, and Michael Brooks. Richard Johnson, Ed West, Checklist, Audrey Bruce, Rich Gannon, Jeff Hostetler, David Little, Brian Brennan, Pete Manley, Chip Lowmiller, I think we haven't seen him yet, but Jason Buck, Tom Tupa, Mark Carrier, Joe Nash, and Derek Thomas, All-Pro. Eric Martin, Mark Murphy, Ron Heller, once again, Wade Wilson, Steve Smith, Thomas Everett, Buford McGee, Larry Kennebrew, Bernie Kosar, Chris Martin, Tom Rathman, Gary Clark, and Rodney Holman, along with Ken Lanier. Dennis Smith, Robert Awalt, Mark Robinson, Grant Fiesel. All-Pro, we've got Tom Newberry, Eddie Murray, Jim Covert. Actually, have one of these signed by Jim. Buford Jordan, Sterling Sharp, great card. Mike Gann, Keith Byers, Rick Faney, Mike Dial, Gerald Williams, and Jackie Slater. Lewis Billups, Orson Mobley, Arthur Cox, Harvey Armstrong, Blair Thomas, draft choice, seen 3 of him, John Stevens, another one of those Joe and Jerry, neat little Super Bowl MVP card, Tim Harris, Checklist, Terry Hogue, Sammy Smith, Lionel Washington, Gary Anderson, Brian Wagner, John Alt, and Joe Jacoby. All right, we're on our final stack here, about 5 left. Greg Bell, Cornelius Bennett, Mike Johnson, Kevin Porter, Jerry Rice, Ralph Mojizenko, Leon White, Michael Brooks, Marion Butts, good card, Michael Ball, Ron Stallworth, Fred Marion, there you go, there's a big Hall of Famer. First one of him we've gotten Chris Barr, Brian Noble, and Checklist. Matt Barr, Michael Carter, Jim Lackey, Tim Crumry, Anthony Bell, Randy Grimes, Kevin Stouffer, Jim Arnold, Vesty Jackson, Robert Massey, Brent Fullwood, Chris Miller, Mike Quick, Joey Browner, and Eddie Anderson. And final 3. Steve Smith, right on top. Thomas Everett, Buford McGee, Larry Kennebrew, Bernie Kosar, Chris Martin, Tom Rathman, Gary Clark, Rodney Holman, Ken Lanier, Jim McMahon, first one we've seen of him, John Hand, Freddie Joe Nunn, Tim Goad, Eric Sanders, Mike Gann, Keith Byers, Rick Faney, Mike Dial, Gerald Williams, Jackie Slater, Don Beebe, Clay Matthews, Walker Lee Ashley, Kevin Fagan, Darryl Green, Lee Johnson, Stephen Atwater, Marion Butts right behind him, great card, Jack Trudeau, and our final pack, 1990 Fleer. Right on top, we've got Joe and Jerry, MVP. Tim Harris, Checklist. Terry Hogue, Sammy Smith, Lionel Washington, Gary Anderson, Brian Wagner, John Alt, Joe Jacoby, Johnny Rembert, Earl Farrell, Winston Moss, Jeff Bryant, Rodney Pete, haven't really seen him much, and Jay Hilton. Thanks for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for more videos, listen and download us on SoundCloud. Visit our site at bloxnews.net and xclusivecollectibles.com for articles, news, collectibles, and help with your website, marketing, and SEO needs. Email us at info@bloxcoinnews.com to learn more.